Shall we start with it?
A very good evening to one and all present over here. Today, I am Madan. Welcome you all on behalf of ANON Global Foundation for the final presentation session for the 3 weeks internship program offered by ANON. I'm pretty sure all the interns must have put their best efforts in these 3 weeks training program and would have had an extraordinary experience while working on their topics. So here I would like to welcome our jury members, Ms. Aparna Sahai. She
Hi.
is a retired civil servant and an activist championing the cause of gender equality, good governance, and sustainable development. She has a specialization in environment, gender, education, and governance. Currently, she's serving as Secretary Sandhan, which is a society for study of education and development, a technical resource institution with pan India presence. She's also a chairman of SARA and Manthan, which is an NGO in Rajasthan involved in social action for rural advancement through natural resource management. I welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you.
And I would also like to introduce our second jury for today, Dr. Jyoti Bajaj. She is a gold medalist special educator from Lady Irwin College, Delhi University, and a gold medalist physiotherapist from Kurukshetra University. She's working as a special educator and counselor with DPS Rohini since last 5 years. She excels in promoting mental health awareness and training and has conducted several training programs, webinars, and interactive sessions with students, parents, and teachers on the same subject. I welcome you, ma'am. So now I would like to thank our jury members for their valuable time and would like to introduce you to the team that is Resonating Minds, who will be sharing their ideas with us today on the topic growth versus fixed mindset. The team is mentored by Nishtha Madan from Delhi, and the team members are Ashwarya from UP, Hira from Karnataka, and Akansha Dangri from Delhi. So I would like to request the team to please come forward and kindly start your presentation. All the best.
Thank you. So good evening, everybody present. So today, I'm very pleased to be mentoring these two wonderful girls on on very interesting topic, that is growth versus fixed mindset. So today, team Resonating Minds will be presenting on this wonderful topic. Here we proceed with the presentation. Angsha, present.
Thank you. So today for our presentation, our topic is fixed mindset versus growth mindset.
George Bernard Shaw once said that one that cannot change their mind cannot change anything. My name is Hira Narayanan, and today Akanksha and I will be discussing mindset as well as its effects. A mindset can be defined as a collection of thoughts or beliefs which shapes our habits. In this presentation, we will be discussing how mindsets differ from person to person, as well as how it differs in different environments. According to Carol Dweck, an American psychologist who is also the author of Mindset, the New Psychology of Success, there are two mindsets, the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. An individual with a fixed mindset believes that talents, abilities, and intelligence are all fixed with no scope for development or improvement. However, individuals with a growth mindset believe that such abilities, such talents, and intelligence can be developed with hard work and perseverance. I will elaborate upon these points in the following slides.
Good evening. So first off, what exactly is mindset? Well, mindset can be defined as a collection of beliefs and thoughts which an individual possesses, and these beliefs and thoughts, they influence a certain individual's actions as well as their behaviors. So according to Carol Dweck, who is a pioneer of this mindset, and she even wrote a book about it, there are two types of mindsets. There's the fixed mindset and there's the growth mindset. The fixed mindset is characteristic of individuals believing that their talents, abilities, and intelligence is fixed, and it basically makes up who they are. However, individuals who have a growth mindset believe that such aspects of one, such as talents, abilities, and intelligence, can be developed through effort, perseverance, and practice. Those with a fixed mindset run from error and they're afraid of failure and avoid challenges. This is because failure acts as a sort of validation for their supposed lack of intelligence. And because they are afraid of failure, they sort of inhibit themselves from taking on new challenges and it prevents them from growing and improving. People with a growth mindset, on the other hand, believe that embrace challenges and they know how to cope well with failure. They see failures, obstacles, hurdles, challenges as an opportunity for them to learn, grow, and develop. So these are some key differences between a fixed mindset as well as a growth mindset. Now I will be passing this on to Akanksha, who will be speaking about rural versus urban environments.
Now that we have discussed about what exactly is a mindset and the types of mindset, we're going to talk about how various aspects in our society and around us affect our mindset. So the first aspect that we'll be talking about is the urban mindset versus the rural mindset. Now both the places are quite different and hence hence the people living in these places develop quite a different mindset. In city we often see people have to compete a lot to reach and to be the best, hence they are under a lot of pressure and stress and they are continuously striving to get at some point, whereas in the rural areas people are satisfied with what they have and settle for less and hence achieve peace of mind much quicker and much better than people in urban areas do. Now, we also see that in urban areas, people often tend to live alone or in nuclear families, so they have to deal with everything around them in their daily life themselves, and hence their mindset is liable to change, as change is the only constant. You have to change to move forward. Whereas if we talk about rural areas, people in rural areas often keep in touch and they form like a strong community. Hence, they act as each other's support system, which makes it easier for them to continue and follow their old practices and norms, and which often lead to discrimination based on various aspects such as gender, race, caste, etc. Now, we also see that in rural areas, accepting change is considered a taboo. It is seen as doing something wrong, whereas in the urban areas, people openly accept change and they know that change is for the better. Now, passing on to Hira.
Now, I will be discussing how mindsets differ in certain productive environments, such as the working environment as well as the learning environment. So, first off, what exactly is the learning environment? Well, the learning environment can be defined as any physical place or context where learning occurs. This can be schools, classrooms, tuition centers, extracurricular centers where someone may learn how to play an instrument or learn how to play a sport. So, a study was conducted by Carol Dweck, who, as I've mentioned, is the pioneer of mindset research. And she conducted this investigation on primary school students. So, she split the students into two groups. One group was praised on their intelligence with phrases such as, "Oh, you're very smart." And the other group was praised on their effort, like, "Oh, you worked very hard." So, these students were asked to do a certain task, and in this task they were asked certain questions, and it was noticed that as the task slowly became harder, children who were praised on their intelligence rather than how much effort they put in slowly started making more and more mistakes. From this we can conclude that praise on which aspect really has a significant impact on what sort of mindset that the child adopts. So from this, we can say that teachers play a very key role in fostering the mindset in students. If teachers use certain methodologies which promote a growth mindset, then even their students will adopt the same, and this will lead them to having higher academic achievements, higher GPA, as well as achieving more in their lives. Now, I will be speaking about uh, about the effect of mindset in different working environments. So the mindset adopted in a working environment is predominantly influenced by the authority figure, such as a boss or a manager. Leaders who have fixed mindsets tend to respond to failure negatively. And rather than viewing it as an opportunity to learn, they don't and tend to promote a fixed mindset among their employees. So what happens is sometimes leaders they tend to blame their failures on others, and because of this, they tend to become controlling and abusive. And because of this, they put everyone around them in the working environment into a fixed mindset as well. And this isn't very conducive to companies, because the main priority of companies is to innovate, to improve, and to get better. And if everyone is in a fixed mindset, there is no scope for that. So, in order to perpetuate a growth mindset in the working environment, there are certain things which can be done by leaders, especially. They can present skills as learnable. So, what this means is just because someone has achieved something doesn't mean another person can't do it. What leaders can do is they can promote that skill as being learnable, saying, oh, just because that person did it doesn't mean you can't as well. You can also learn the skill and you can learn how to apply it for future projects. In addition to this, leaders can also give feedback in a way which promotes learning and success, therefore perpetuating a growth mindset. So this is how mindsets differ in a learning versus a working environment. Now I will be passing it on to Akanksha, who will speak about the role of mindset in gender.
Now we know that gender differences have been quite prevalent in our society from the beginning of times, whether it be the Western society or the Eastern society. Now, it is noticeable that a fixed mindset is often a contributing factor to gender equalities. A fixed mindset often considers women's potential to be limited and they stop them at particular and specific options. They do not allow them to expand and grow their horizons. Whereas when it comes to men, people often encourage men and support them whenever they try to do something new. This kind of difference is visible in our schools, in our learning environment, as well as in workplaces where females are often discouraged in subjects related to STEM and sciences. They are often told that it is not a part of their aptitude to achieve something in this particular line of work, whereas men are always told that this is the kind of work they should be doing. If we talk about a workplace, we see that a fixed mindset often uh, prefers a man over a woman for a specific task or work, even if they both have the same potential, degree, education, and experience. However, a growth mindset is based on the belief that being a female is actually a benefit in the workplace. We see that if we limit women, it often leads to them undermining their own potential and it creates a sense of inferiority amongst themselves. We see that fixed people with a fixed mindset often tend to implement old school practices and orthodox ideologies, which is a hindrance to the growth mentally as well as emotionally of for women. An international study commissioned by Unilever told that underlying gender bias is holding women back at work. The research was taken over 9,000 men and women over 8 markets where it was quite prevalent that women are often held back and are not able to do their best whenever they are put under stereotypes or under certain specific rules that have to be followed just because they are a female. Now I'm going to talk about how culture and mindset are related. Now, our mindset is heavily influenced by the social environment around us, which in turn is heavily affected by culture. Culture has been there in our society for as far as we remember, and it still has a very important and prominent role to play. People living in societies where culture is a primary belief, where culture forms the basis of everything they do or decide in their life, often have a fixed cultural mindset. Doing anything that goes against their culture, be it be right or wrong, they consider it that okay, this is something our culture does not permit. That means it has to be wrong. It hinders their growth. It does not allow them to develop a growth mindset and accept new challenges. They often take the disposal of these rules or set of rules which have been set as a you know as an act of disobedience to God, which is not true. God supports what is right, not what has been told and written. Hence, it is important that we strike a very contrasting and strict balance between having a cultural mindset as well as a growth mindset. A person having a growth mindset does not necessarily mean that does not believe in anything that his or her culture says. You have to strike a balance where your culture and mindset, both the thoughts collide and allow you to grow, develop, and are also liable to change. All of these researches and studies come under the topic of cultural neuroscience. It is a field of research that focuses on the interference between a human's cultural environment and neurobiological systems. It explains how the interplay and mutual constitution between neural and cultural forces give rise to patterns of behavior, perception, and cognition. Hence, it is important that people understand that they have to learn, they have to grow, and they have to accept things even if they go against their culture, if they are right. Only then can this world be a better society for all of us to live in. We do not have to hold anything against any other community for any matter. We have to grow, we have to strive, we have to work for the betterment of us as whole. Now, I would like to pass on to Hira to explain the next topic.
Now, I will be speaking about the role of nature versus nurture in mindset. Now, nature versus nurture is a very, very popular debate in psychology, and it basically looks at the extent to which genetic factors and other biological factors weigh into certain aspects of someone's behavior as opposed to environmental factors. So this is what behavioral genetics actually aims at doing. It tries to quantify the approximate contribution of the nature versus the nurture when considering certain traits in behavior. So there were two approaches. The first is the empiricist approach, which looks at the mind as a sort of blank slate, and it's filled with experiences as one's lifetime progresses. And these experiences that we gain throughout our lifetime shape our behavior and therefore also shape our mindset. So this can be attributed to the nurture part of the nature versus nurture debate, saying that mindset is influenced by environmental factors. However, there's another phenomenon which is known as niche picking. And this is where people who have a certain predisposition to a genetic predisposition pick environments accordingly. For example, if you were to consider someone who is an extrovert, extroversion is predominantly genetic. They will also pick environments which are suitable to them. For example, they will try to mingle with other extroverts. And this is a genetic predisposition. So even though niche picking appears to be an environmental influence, it is actually a genetic factor. So this can weigh into the nature part of the nature versus nurture debate. Now, there was a study which was conducted again by Carol Dweck, and basically what happened was the sample was divided into two groups. One group was told to read an article which pointed out that intelligence is genetically inherited. And then the other group was told to read an article about Albert Einstein and Leonardo da Vinci, which said that their genius was cultivated through challenging environments rather than a genetic predisposition to being intelligent. After having read these two articles, the two groups were told to remember the main points of the articles, and then they were asked to do a task. They were asked to do a task. So the results show that groups that read that intelligence is primarily genetic paid more attention to their responses as if they were more concerned with how they performed during the task. And this extra attention didn't correlate necessarily to the performance. However, those who read the article about Leonardo da Vinci and Albert Einstein showed a more efficient brain response after they made a mistake. This is possibly because they thought they could do better on the next trial, which promotes a growth mindset, as you can see. They saw that any failure they encountered, which is the mistake they made, was an opportunity to learn and get better. So this extra attention which was paid helped in making their responses faster, accurate, and therefore more efficient in the following trials. So basically, in conclusion, we can say that this study explores how messages about the nature of people's abilities has a very significant effect on the mindset adopted by that individual. So this contributes largely to the environment aspect of the nature versus nurture debate. Now I will pass it on to Akanksha.
So now we are going to discuss about the survey that was conducted by our team and what we inferred and interpreted from the results that we got. So the objectives of conducting the survey was to know whether people around us have a fixed mindset or a growth mindset, and to get to know about the various thought processes they have. So this was a self-administered survey which received about 100 responses, 50 for the under 30 age group, whereas the rest 50 for the above 30 age group, and random sampling method was used for the same. Now I would like to pass it on to Hira.
So the first question which we analyzed was, how do you perceive failures? And the purpose of asking this question to our sample was to get to know whether people see failure as an opportunity or just get disheartened by it and see it as a disappointment. So people who viewed it as a disappointment tend to show a fixed mindset, whereas people who see it as an opportunity to learn and get better show a growth mindset. And as we can see in both the age ranges from below 30 as well as above 30, they show a similar distribution in how many members of that sample showed a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. It's very encouraging to see that a good majority of the members of the sample in both the groups showed a growth mindset. Now I'll pass it on to Akanksha, who will explain about the next question.
So the next question that we took up in our survey was, do you think that the effort is fruitless and only success matters the most? This question was to check whether the people genuinely value and learn from the learning process while they are moving on a path to achieve something, to achieve their destination, or they only care about what they get at the end. So we see that both the age groups yield an almost similar result, and it is very good to see that quite a lot of people value the path. They learn from the path, they learn what the path teaches them, the lessons, the memories, they pick up everything and they grow organically and totally, completely. Whereas there are still some people who value only what they get at the end, which is not right. But it is very good to see that there is a good majority of the people who have a growth mindset in terms of success. So the next question that we're going to be talking about is that, do you find success of the people around you inspiring? Now, this question was to check whether the people perceive other success as aspiring, as inspirational, as something that they can do too. Do they consider it as a growing opportunity, and do they use it to encourage themselves? Or for them, it is just a standard or a bar that is set up which they have to reach to prove to the society that they too can be successful. Now, in the below 30 age group, we see that there is that a chunk of the population believes that the success of the people around us is inspiring. However, in the above 30 age group, we also see that there is a small proportion of the people who believe that the success of the people around us is not inspiring, which shows that there are still some people who have a fixed mindset. But we also see that in the above 30 age group, people learn from the experiences of others. Hence, it's a balanced view, but we can see that younger people, the younger generation, still and will continue to have a better and a more growth mindset when it comes to talking about the success and the happiness and the achievements of the people around them.
Now, this question was administered rather as a statement rather than as a question. So it states, when faced with failures, you resort to questioning your abilities or intelligence. Now, the purpose of asking this, putting across this statement was to see how many people tend to adopt a growth mindset as opposed to a fixed mindset. So as we can see, in the below 30 age group, most people, almost 50% of the sample tended to respond with neutral as opposed to agree or disagree. Now, from this, we can infer that the individual's mindset would probably differ according to context, which is why such a large group of people put neutral rather than agree or disagree. Now, for above 30, a significantly lower percentage of people put neutral, and quite a high percent put agree, which shows that people in the above 30 age range from this sample tended to respond with a growth mindset rather than a fixed mindset. Um, Next, this question was also put across as a statement, and it states, you are born with a certain amount of intelligence, and it isn't something that can be changed. Now, the purpose of this was also to see how many people responded with a growth mindset as opposed to a fixed mindset. Most people in the below 30 as well as the above 30 responded with disagree, which shows that a good maybe 64% disagreed with the statement, showing that they have a growth mindset, which is quite encouraging to see.
So the last question from our survey that we'll be analyzing is, how do you deal with criticism? Now, the objective of asking this question was to see whether people take criticism as a constructive component of their life or a destructive component. Do they take out the learnings from it and learn from it, or they just ignore it or treat it as an obstacle which is coming in their path to achieve what they want? Now, in the below 30 age group, as we can see, almost half of the population believes that criticism is something from which you have to take up values, is something from which they learn. However, in the above 30 age group, we see that a much larger proportion of people learn from it instead of treating it as an obstacle or ignoring it, which shows that people in the age group above 30 are keen on learning from their shortcomings and are flexible and liable to change when it comes to taking or perceiving criticism. Now, we would like to move ahead with the key learnings.
So now we will talk about the key learnings. So in order to adopt a growth mindset and go from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, there are certain things that we should do in our daily lives to ensure this. One thing which should be noted is that it isn't possible to uh, adopt a growth mindset overnight, and it's something which should be consciously and diligently done over a course of time to fully completely adopt a growth mindset. Now there are some things which can help in this, and the first thing is viewing challenges as an opportunity. When as soon as we learn to view challenges as an opportunity, that gives us a chance to learn, grow, develop, and become better. In addition to this, we should also have a positive approach to criticism. And keeping this in mind, we should also know which criticism to value and validate and which we should take with a grain of salt. In addition to this, we should disassociate improvement from failure. So these are just some key points which we should keep in mind when trying to adopt a growth mindset.
Now, moving forward to the conclusion of our presentation.
Throughout the presentation, we saw how mindsets vary with different situations, conditions, and environment. To conclude, we can say that a good chunk of the population still has a fixed mindset, but there are many who have adopted a growth mindset as well, based on the survey conducted by our team. On the positive note, we can say that there are countless who have understood the advantages of having a growth mindset over a fixed one and are progressing to achieve the same. I would like to end our presentation by quoting, "Genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration," as rightly said by Thomas Alva Edison. We hope you liked our display and we were able to explain our topic well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and we hope you liked our presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, team. We definitely liked your presentation as to how you portrayed the difference in the growth mindset and the fixed mindset. Now, over to our jury. Aparna ma'am, what are your views regarding the presentation? And if there are any questions, you may go ahead. Ma'am, you're on mute.
You talked when you began about mindsets, you talk about urban people and rural people. And you said urban people are anxious, uncertain, there are more challenges, more struggles, whereas rural people are satisfied with what they have. And since there are challenges, urban people are more prone to have a growth mindset. Whereas, on the other hand, because rural people are satisfied with what they have, they have fixed mindsets. Did I understand right? I want a little clarification on this.
Actually, that's not what I meant to say. What I meant to say was that the reason why urban people are more liable to change and more liable to having a growth mindset is because they have to do everything alone and they have to go through a lot. In rural areas, there are no such challenges which pushes them to change what they already have in mind or they think. So that's what I meant in perspective.
Well,
Can I take
uh,
this question?
I think um, mindsets. So many. You talked about gender, gender and mindset. Okay, so there have. I mean, when a boy and a girl are born, apart from their sex organs, nothing else is different. They have eyes, nose, I mean, skin, ears, everything. They have a brain, they learn equally well. But gender discrimination is because, you know, they have to do it. It is because of the mindset. Because this is a girl, because this girl is a burden on us, because that is why she doesn't need to study further. When she is 3 or 4 years old, she'll take care of the younger siblings or do the household chores or take the cattle for grazing. I mean, I'm talking of the rural areas. In the urban areas also, this mindset exists that girls do not go to the school and they're taking care of this. Maybe if it has become compulsory, then girls will go to the government school and boys will be sent to the private schools or a better educational facility. So that is a mindset that, well, girls are second class citizens. Whereas, and there was this mindset that there is child marriage. I worked in the government and I've seen police officers, police people also talking that, well, when children are small, they don't have to incur much expenditure on the marriages. When children grow up, and it is because of the poverty. So that is a mindset, isn't it? Similarly, untouchability was a mindset. Hmm? You talked of other things. So, many things have changed in India. And I think what changes mindset above all these things, education is very important, peer pressure is very important. But the most important thing is the law of the land. Our constitution has all these protections, but the implementation has lot many gaps. So, I mean, that gap is, you have to look at those gaps, whether it is gender gap in education, whether it is still girls getting married before the age of 18. Rajasthan has a high child marriage, about 28% even now, which used to be till 4 years ago, it used to be about 41%. So, these things change, but law has a very important role to play. I have been to Scandinavian countries. I worked with the Swedish SIDA, International Development Authority, and I visited these countries and I realized that 30 years ago, when we used to read newspapers and magazines, there was a lot of halla bulla ki society open hai, ladke ladkiyan openly milte hain, child बच्चे हो रहे हैं out of wedlock, this and that. But when you go to these cities, I mean, Finland is the happiest country in the world as per the World Happiness Report. बात ये है कि वहां पर 50% रिप्रेजेंटेशन लड़कियों का, औरतों का पार्लियामेंट में है, कंपनीज में है, गवर्नमेंट सिस्टम्स में है, स्कूल्स में है. You go there, you don't find toilets for ladies and gents. These are common toilets, and the diaper change के लिए जो बना हुआ वहां पर sign है, signage, a man changing diaper of a child, a baby, an infant. So, but they have traveled a lot. For that, the credit goes to governance, the credit goes to law of the land. सो आई थिंक माइंडसेट्स के लिए बहुत सारी चीज़ें होती हैं बेटा. इसको थोड़ा सा आप लोगों ने बहुत अच्छा प्रेजेंटेशन किया, बहुत अच्छा समझा भी है. And I'm sure you have analyzed it. I would like to know, while you were doing this exercise, did you talk about these things? Because sometimes it happens that we take the Western concepts, and we read about the Western authors. Have you seen the examples close to in your close community, in your neighborhood, within India? Have you seen such newspaper reports that infant found abandoned, and maybe some unwed mother, out of shame, has put this child here? This is a mindset of the media, isn't it? So there are examples closer home. Have you seen it?
Yes, I have seen an example. Actually, me and my family, we donate to an NGO. So it's for young children. So over there, outside the door of the NGO, they have this crib. It's empty. So like one day when I was young and I went there, I didn't know why it was there. And I asked my mom why it was there, and she told that people often, abandon usually the girl child and they leave. Like instead of, just leaving her at the doorstep, the NGO has taken up the step to make the crib. And after that, whenever I have gone there, we talk to them also, like the children who are over there, we talk to them while we're distributing stuff and all. And we asked the authorities also, and they told us that there is like they get quite many girl child as compared to a boy. Like they've rarely got a boy in that crib, but they get a girl every fortnight, which is very unfortunate. And people still continue to discriminate. There are many reasons for this. Could be education, could be poverty. Maybe they can't afford, having a child at all. But yeah, such instances do exist, and we have to.
First of all, this is indeed a mindset. This
Yeah.
is a mindset of the discrimination. There are LGBTQ communities, huh? The mindset that, well, gays are bad, lesbians are bad. But, they exist. There are countries, there are societies where they are accepted. Even in India now, there is an act about these things. So it is, keeping the mind open that there is life. They are thinking people, they can contribute to our GDP and that kind of a thing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Now I would request Jyoti ma'am to please share her views on the presentation.
Well done, team. You tried your best. Very good. Good presentation. Don't take it as a criticism, girls. We are here to learn. You got this opportunity. You explored about the topic, and again, it's not about the judgment. It's about what we are learning in the entire process. I found the presentation to be more theoretical. I was throughout, looking for some examples. Like ma'am said, examples close to home. Right from the time when we had leaders like Swami Vivekananda, how these people had this growth mindset. They had criticism, they faced failures. People were against them. They started fighting social problems like dowry, like sati, like parda system, women emancipation. Starting from there, how we have reached where we are in the current scenario also. Like ma'am said, we talk about transgenders, equality, equity, we talk about inclusion, the taboo related to menstruation. Hardly there are people talking about it. Compared, if I compare 10 years before and now, the times are changing. The kind of lifestyle we are adopting, we are in a transformation stage where we are neither, we've neither left our culture nor adopted the western culture. So this period is so dynamic, it's full of change, and there are new changes every day. And every year when you compare or when you look at the past decade, there are so many things that have changed. So that is something which I wanted to see more in the presentation. I wanted to hear from you, what does mindset mean to you? How can you change your mindset from fixed to a growth mindset? Have you experienced something? What is the current academic scenario around you? What have you seen in the school? How have you, kind of like Akanksha was sharing an example. So, around you, with your parents, with your siblings, with your friends, what was that experience, that experiential thing? I wanted more. Otherwise, talking about the topic, the explanation, that was very good, wonderful. My question to you is, can you have both fixed and a growth mindset? This is a question that I've picked from Carol Dweck's paper only. I happened to read, a part of his book. It was in the library, though I haven't read the entire book. The topic was so interesting. I did pick that book up. So he has talked, if you've kind of researched enough into the topic, there also he has mentioned about both fixed and growth mindset. And the question that he has raised is, can a person have both fixed and a growth mindset?
Ma'am, can I take that question?
Yeah, Nishtha, go ahead.
Yeah, so ma'am, I believe that yes, a person can have a growth and a fixed mindset both at a time, because sometimes we are display the growth mindset in situations that are favorable to us. That in the places where we have a good bond with some people, there we tend to show growth mindset. And in situations where we have to present like, oh, okay, I can do this, I am moving forward with the society, then there are the places where people show growth mindset. Whereas if, the same person can show a fixed mindset at their home. Supposedly there's a man who works in a school or some wherever. There he tends to motivate others that send your girl child to school and everything. But he might himself have a daughter and not be sending her to school, not be allowing her to pursue her wishes. this is a kind this is a kind of a mindset where the person a, is fixed also and is showing a growth also. Basically he knows what is right but is not able to exhibit in his own scenario, in his own situations. So I think yes, that is possible. So as you also said that India is in a transition phase, here most of the people are in that state where they aren't really sure what to do and what not to do. So that is a place.
Yeah, right. You talked about cultural neuroscience in your presentation. That was the answer. The fixed mindset, the contributory factors are your religion, your culture, the environment, the upbringing. Those are the factors that cause a fixed mindset in a person. Like ma'am was talking about gender roles. The difference between sex and gender is sex is biological trait. Gender is the social roles that are given to that sex. Women are supposed to be in a certain idol. These are the roles that a woman needs to perform, and these are the roles that a man needs to perform. So this is again a mindset. But growth mindset, a very important contributory factor is the education. It is very, very important to educate everyone, to have that level of understanding and education, which would help us to move from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. So the cultural neuroscience that you talked about, that is actually a science which talks about how culture impacts your behavior, your lifestyle. So that is what leads to a fixed mind. But well done, girls. We can see the effort that you have put into it, and go explore more about it. It will really help you to actually, understand the topic in depth. It's a very, very important topic, and something that is going to stay with you all throughout your life.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
It was a very good
Thank you.
presentation. And I would say that, fixed mindsets are there, but there are always U turns. You see several examples from our own context. So go for it as I mean, I'm sure you couldn't explore everything, but as Jyoti said, go for it.
One thing
Thank
I
you.
found when you were showing your data, the survey, the uh, font size is very small and it was very faint. At times, yes, no is not visible. So be careful when you are just, and pointers, short pointers are always attractive. So look for these things into, and definitely good research. And I'm happy the kind of variety you have come up with very small number of individuals in this team. Good.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much,
Thank
ma'am.
you, Aishwarya, Hira, Akanksha. Job well done.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much to our jury members for their valuable insights, to the mentors and team members, and to Anon for having a delightful evening and adding value to the session. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Good night,
Thank
Thank
everyone.
you.
you.
Take care. Bye
Thank you
bye.
Thank
so
you,
much.
Aarti.
Good night.
Yeah. Good night.